Welcome back, everyone, to the South End Zone. I am Chad, and what's your name again? I don't remember
I'm
you.
not sure. Who are you? What are we doing?
The man in black is Tyler. Tyler, tell us why you're wearing that black jersey.
Well, listen, Tennessee comes down to Athens this weekend, and Kirby's calling for a blackout. He's, in the beginning of the year, has talked about, feeling like the fans have not been in it at times when we've been at home this year. He's calling for a blackout. They usually try to black out Stanford like once a year, if big home games. But there's always the hope. There's always the hope when we call for a blackout that maybe, just maybe, they're gonna pop these bad boys on just once.
Just one time.
Kirby, we have the jerseys. You let the recruits wear them. We know we have them.
Right.
Like you let the recruits. They let recruits wear like these combinations of jerseys that we like these like prototype jerseys that all white with a white helmet, like all black pants. And I'm like, dude, we could go Silver Bridges black pants and the whole stadium would go nuts. Like the origin of like the blackout Stanford, I guess this was like when I was a young boy, not so young, but we had family and friends at the game, and it was a home game. They had Auburn come to town, Matt Stafford at QB, and they were like, we need a blackout. We're going to call for a blackout this weekend. Everybody wear black, no red, no white, no silver. We're wearing black this weekend. And there was rumors that UGA might have black uniforms. And when everybody was warming up, they were all wearing red. And even the captains came out to the coin toss in red.
Yeah.
And then when the band started playing and Georgia came out of the tunnel, they were all rocking black.
Wow.
So
that's hard.
Yeah. And then the captains took their red tops off and were also wearing black.
Wow.
Yeah. Was, and so they beat Auburn at home that day. But it was my, one of my cousins said it was the loudest that she's ever in her time at UGA was the loudest at Stanford. Like the whole place went in. There's videos of it on. I get chills just talking about it. Like there's videos on YouTube of them coming back out in the black uniforms, and it's the most insane thing ever. So Kirby, we know we have them.
Don't make Tyler beg.
I am begging. I'm already doing it. I'm going to say most likely won't happen, but Kirby, you talk about our season rides on every game now. You want the home crowd behind you. We're going to show up regardless. But listen, if you pull up, and I know some fans claim that they're bad luck. I'm pretty sure we actually have a winning record in them. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where that stands nowadays because we won them two times in the last 15 years. But listen, if it's any time to do it, it's Saturday night in Sanford, hosting the Volunteers. I think if they come out in black, you'll have the whole stadium going crazy. It'll be one of the greatest moments of the year with College game day in town. It's the perfect setup to just go crazy. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say. So that's my personal, because I know Kirby Smart watches these videos, obviously, and this is my direct statement to Kirby. Please, for the love of God, just let us wear the black uniforms this weekend.
How could he not watch?
Right, that's what I'm saying.
This,
clearly.
I mean, it only makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So let's see if Tyler's telling the truth here. We have found what appears to be video evidence of what Tyler just described. Let's see.
Red home uniform.
Did it actually happen?
The 2000s. Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
For the first time ever in their black jerseys.
Yeah,
the
dude.
Bulldogs of Georgia.
Okay. Tim Brando on the call. You gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So I see it. I see what you mean. That is pretty raw though. To do all that stuff in your Reds.
Yeah.
And then switch and come back. Because usually when people do their alternate unis,
there's
a whole week of lead up, and everybody's they posted it on social media. It's all everywhere. Granted, this was pre the social media era. Yeah. So it's been a while.
But still, how cool is that to instead of keeping it almost let it be a rumor and a mystery, up until like literally kickoff.
Well, like one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, somebody gave us some bad intel because we've been hearing about blackout jerseys. They're not wearing black. Look, they're wearing red, and then they come out. They're really doing it. Yeah, that would be the opposite of what LSU tried to do this past weekend, where they brought a fake tiger, not Mike the Tiger, but Omar the fake tiger, and it was like a complete dud, and they fell flat against Alabama. But so let's get into it.
Yes,
the game is coming. Tennessee comes into Sanford Stadium. Number 7 Tennessee, number 12 Georgia. The last time you guys played Tennessee in a game like this, where playoff implications abounded, it was a couple of years ago, 2022, and Georgia just mud stomped Tennessee in that game. 9.5-point favorites here. Nico Iamaleava's status is kind of up in the air. We're not sure with his concussion and everything else. But how do you feel about this one, Tyler?
All the reports are. It's literally. I think they're literally going to make it a game time decision for a guy in concussion protocol. Which I guess, like, obviously, he's your clear starter, so he can let him go, right? I think from last week to this week is we can't get whooped up front because they have Dylan Sampson, who they will give the ball to 30 times a game. No, have zero issue with it's crazy because you think a Josh Heupel team, quarterback, everything, they had Hendon Hooker throwing the ball around, Nico being the quarterback he could be and is supposed to be. Like they're being, I think they beat Alabama just by running the ball, and they kind of made their money, like having to run the ball when they needed to.
That and Milroe turning the ball over left and right.
That's also true,
which he did not do against LSU.
He did not do at all. But not getting whooped up front because Ulysses Grant made us look silly. Like we could not.
No, Ulysses Bennett. Ulysses Grant was that guy in the Civil War.
Fucking Christ.
Y'all, look, it was that traumatic. He's having Civil War flashbacks. Tyler has such bad PTSD. He's having war PTSD from a war he didn't fight in.
Past lives, the haters in the comments will go crazy. It's okay. Listen,
oh God, man, this is awesome.
Tyler doesn't know ball.
Tyler
doesn't know ball. I'll write it for you. Fucking clown, idiot, stupid, fucking Georgia fan. Why don't you drive your car down in Athens real fast?
Is it Bentley or Bennett? I can't remember.
I thought, you know what? I'm gonna look it up.
I think it's Bentley. I think
you're right.
Actually.
That feels right.
Ulysses
in a moment, when I said it, that didn't feel right.
So he ran all over us last year, and then he hardly played.
He was backing up
this year. Well, he was backing up Judkins, but he was getting a lot of run last year.
Yeah.
Then he was dinged up, and then when Parrish was out, we were like, oh, Henry Parrish is out. But then out of nowhere comes Ulysses Bentley just going crazy. And so that was anyway, not Ulysses Grant.
Why are we naming anybody Ulysses in 2024?
Let's just from now on, his name is Ulysses S. Bentley, because we have to at least keep that joke alive. So anyway, continue. I'm sorry, I just had to.
No, listen, haters in the comments, go for it. Have a day. Carson Beck now with 17 tuds and 12 interceptions.
Hey man, he's not far away from it. He's just got to keep grinding.
A Jameis Winston year. I'm telling you, that's what. Like, listen, if anybody's the most critical of Carson Beck, it's Georgia fans. Like, we know he looks like Timmy from South Park. We know he looks like Sid the Sloth. We understand that, but he's who is going to keep trotting out there and try to win us football games. And the last week was not on him. I don't feel that way. I really don't. Like, he made the throws he needed to. He just had unlucky. The fumbles were god awful, but as far as delivering the ball to the right person, overall was okay. It was the lack of defense. It was not on him. It was a lack of O-line not blocking very well
protection.
For him. Yeah. There was lack of protection in our D line.
Well, and you didn't run the ball very well either.
Not at all. And that's the other thing we're going to talk about. Because
still on the O-line.
Yeah, that's the other thing we're going to talk about is I think it's now that Trevor Etienne is out for the weekend. So we now have Branson Robinson, Raja Robinson, Trevor Etienne, and Cass Jones is even questionable. So the workload's going to fall on freshman Nate Frazier, who gator chomped and got screamed at by Kirby Smart. So we'll have to see how that goes. I know Micah Morris, our guard that was filling in for Ratledge, is questionable as well. And I know that Ratledge tried to play off the tightrope, and I feel like he got kind of bullied by the Ole Miss D line last week. So we'll have to see, because he is very good. Like, he was the starter. So I feel okay that he will be able to show up. But it's the trenches is where we're going to win. I know that's the most cliche thing you can absolutely say when talking about a game like this. And then also our secondary needs to hold up, because if Nico's playing and he's slinging the rock, they put up I don't understand, it was Kent State, but they put up 70 points. Yeah. Like, he will easily get down the field on us if we don't strap up. And we have dudes. That's like we have Starks out there. We have, we have Everett. We have all these guys. Like, we got to pony up, and we just can't get beat over the top. So it's going to come down to tackling, which we sometimes do, sometimes don't, whenever we feel like it. And not getting whipped up front, and making sure we protect Carson and allow him to get in that groove that he was pretty much in last week. We just could not sustain, we could not get drives going, and don't make any mistakes. I think having the home crowd in Athens is going to be very helpful. And we can't think about whether Nico's playing or not, because Dylan Sampson is still a dude. We cannot let him run all over us. We cannot let him do what Ulysses Bentley from Ole Miss did to us last week. And I think that we can absolutely win this game. We have to win this game, because if we lose, we're done with the playoff. It's just over for us. So it all rides. Every game is, we can still control our own destiny. So we got to take care of business.
Yeah, and so I mean, I really do think it's going to kind of all come down to the Nico Iamaleava status. If he's healthy and able to play, it's going to be your standard Georgia-Tennessee matchup in Athens, where it's going to be a dogfight, and I still expect you guys to prevail in the end, but it's going to be it's going to be a little more up in the air. If he does not play, I think you guys got it. Even though Dylan Sampson, yes, but I think a lot of his ability to run the ball is because of that threat of Iamaleava, both running the ball and doing his thing downfield in the passing game. LSU, on the other hand, we've got to go down to the swamp and play apparently a miraculously resurrected DJ Lagway, who I thought exploded his hamstring a couple of weeks ago against you guys. And I thought we were going to get this kid from Yale, and we were just going to beat the dog mess out of him. But we're 4-point favorites on the road. I hate this spot. I'm now kind of wondering if we should have hired Billy Napier instead of Brian Kelly, because what Billy Napier has done with that Florida roster, it's 3 years, man. It's 3 years, and we still don't have dudes on the edge who can guard people. So then we have to commit too many people to the passing game, and we've got to be hyper aggressive pass rushing. And so we let a guy like Marcel Reed or Jalen Milroe run all over us, or Lenora Sellers even earlier in the year. I'm worried about this game with Lagway and his ability to run, because that dual threat quarterback has given LSU fits the last couple of years, and I don't see this being any different. I don't know how healthy DJ Lagway actually is. He was removed from the injury report, so that could mean everything. It could be nothing. We've seen the hijinks of. I mean, let's be honest. This is the first year that the college football coaches have ever had to deliver official injury reports.
Sure.
It used to be that they would you just played whoever you played, and you never had to tell anybody anything. And you might let a little bit on in press conferences and stuff if you felt like you wanted to or needed to, but you didn't have to tell anybody anything about injuries. And so I think what Lane Kiffin has done, and possibly in this case, Billy Napier, this is one of those things where it's like, look, man, what are you going to do? Fine me? What's the penalty if you lie or are not completely 100% on? What would they possibly be able to do to Lane Kiffin for having Jordan Watkins listed as doubtful when there was no doubt whatsoever that he was playing in that game.
Yeah.
What's the damage? None.
Yeah.
There's no penalty.
Nope.
There's nothing. So like I don't know. Is DJ Lagway healthy? Is this just like smoke and mirrors to kind of maybe get a little bit of an edge, and maybe he goes out there and he's not 100%, but he's doing a little bit, and they're going to try to see what they can get out of him. And we've seen this already this year with Brady Cook at Missouri, where he tried to play on a bum leg against Alabama and then ended up having to come out in like the second quarter. We've seen it with a couple other guys, in at different schools throughout the country this year. So I wouldn't be surprised if Lagway's not 100%, but they just removed him from the injury report to give that little boost. I'm not sure who is not going to be playing in this game is Garrett Dellinger, still out with his high ankle sprain. They did the tightrope procedure. He was supposed to be back for this game, missed the Alabama game, and it you could see the cost, the toll that played on LSU. DJ Chester felt like he had to help Paul Mabenga out there at left guard a couple of times, let a rusher come right up the middle. And that was the play where, LSU stops Alabama on fourth down. It's 14-6. We get the ball back, and we've got a chance to go down and tie the game or at least cut it to 1. And the very first play, free rusher up the middle, Nussmeier spins out and tries to get to the outside, rolling to his left, gets stripped, fumbles the ball. Alabama picks it up, goes right back down and scores from 20 yards out, and the game's pretty much over at that point. So having Dellinger miss yet another game is going to be, it's a disadvantage for LSU. No way to sugarcoat it. LSU is in a position right now where, weirdly enough, they could still actually make the college football playoff. They could still make it to the SEC title game and win the SEC, or they could implode and lose 2 out of the next 3 and be looking at the Independence Bowl or something like that and being like the 9th or 10th best team in the SEC. That's where we are right now, is that 3 weeks ago, a 10-point lead in College Station for SEC supremacy to take over the number 1 spot by yourself in the SEC as an undefeated SEC team has now become, you have 2 losses and you're staring a 3rd loss dead in the face in the swamp at 2:30 on Saturday afternoon. What are you going to do? You reach down and grab your nuts because it's time. Like, this is it. You better come correct, because the margin of error is gone. There is no margin of error anymore. And, is it Pollyanna wishful thinking to be saying things like SEC title and college football playoff for LSU? Yeah, probably so. Is it very realistic? We're going to get into that, because LSU should win these last 3 games. And if a bunch of other stuff that should happen happens, LSU's in the SEC title game, playing either Texas or Texas A&M for the championship. And if they get another crack at Texas A&M, I don't know. I kind of like our chances not playing in College Station, playing in Atlanta instead against Texas A&M. And if they can figure out, maybe we'll see against DJ Lagway this week, that they have figured out how to not have the worst gap discipline and missing zone read, like just have 3 dudes following the give and nobody taking the quarterback. Because what we have not had a problem with is stopping running backs.
Yeah.
What we can't seem to do is figure out that the quarterback has the ball until he's 20 yards down the field.
Yeah, the quarterback can run the ball. So they say.
We're on like a 3 Mississippi rush or something. It's so depressing. Anyway, so while we watch that one, look, we're in no fraud November territory, chaos corner, chaos central, whatever you want to call it. This is where shit gets real every year in college football, and there's some stuff that's going kind of crazy. You have earmarked a game that could be very crazy. Texas, 11 a.m. kickoff on Saturday morning in Fayetteville, Arkansas. What are you feeling here?
Like, and I can't describe it. And it's, sometimes, you've seen enough SEC games, like And the people that say, "Oh, you SEC homers," well, no shit, Sherlock. Do you see what we're doing here? Like, obviously, like we love all of college football, but this is the South end zone. We understand that every stadium has a South end zone, but do you not see what's? Come on.
Listen, okay, so let me pause you right there real quick, because I'm gonna double down on what you just said, because I want everybody, because somebody came in when I called Miami a fraud. They are a fraud. Miami is a fraud. They've played no one this year. Like, they've literally played like the equivalent of like Kentucky, Missouri, and Arkansas all year, and they have barely escaped every one of those games, and then failed, losing to what looks a lot like Vanderbilt in Georgia Tech. Okay, that's where you are. You haven't played Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Texas A&M, LSU, Alabama, Ole Miss, Georgia, Tennessee. None of those teams. Notre Dame, anybody like that. No, you played Florida, and they brag about they beat Florida. They beat, we beaten SEC teams. We beat Texas A&M last year. Texas A&M was terrible last year. We beat Florida last year, or this year. Florida's terrible this year. Like, they're outperforming what we thought they would, but they're still not good. If we lose to Florida tomorrow, I'm going to be upset. But here's the thing. This isn't just SEC bias and homerism. The SEC has dominated the BCS to college football playoff era. End of story. Like, it is unarguable. Let's see. Alabama has 6 national championships in that period of time. LSU has 3. Florida has 2. Tennessee has 1. Auburn has 1. Georgia has 2. That's like over a dozen national championships in like a 25-year period.
Mm-hmm.
It's half of the time the SEC is winning the thing. And it's with 6 different schools. So it's not just Alabama. Alabama doesn't even have half of them. They have 6. LSU has 3. Georgia has 2. Auburn has 1. Tennessee has 1. Florida has 2. That's, what are we at? We're at 15 total championships. Yep. 9 of them from not Alabama. Okay? So miss me with that. The SEC is what it is. It's dominant, and it only got better when it added Texas and Oklahoma. However, I think where you were going with this is Texas ain't played in the SEC for real yet. They showed what happens when one of the best teams in the SEC comes to Austin, because they've played the bottom of the SEC the rest of the year that they've played.
Yep. And I think, well, this Texas Arkansas game does go back a little bit of ways. Like, in history, like, they've had like some matchups. Like, this is
especially in the 60s and 70s.
Right. Like, this is in itself like a historic rivalry. Like, like, I don't say historic, but like,
no, old Big 8,
right,
and Southwest Conference,
right,
kind of, not Big 8. It was Big 12, and but I think it was back to the Southwest Conference days.
Right. Yes. And so the reason I'm saying what I'm saying is, listen, Texas went into Nashville and almost coughed it up against Vandy.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about a team in Arkansas in a environment that no matter how well their team is playing,
mm-hmm,
or how good they've been,
mm-hmm,
they will show up and they will be calling the hogs all day
mm-hmm,
long. And it is now November, and you have to travel to Fayetteville to play an 11 a.m. kickoff. Arkansas is going to be licking their lips at this. I'm telling you, I can feel it, especially with what Arkansas brings to the table, offensively.
Well, in the trenches too.
In the trenches and with
in
the
trenches, they're
play.
huge.
Yeah, exactly. With the quarterback play, and Jaquindon Jackson's a guy. Like, he really is. Like, their running back game is very solid. Like, I know, like, the only thing I worry about Arkansas is the defensive side of the ball. Like, their secondary is not the best.
Yeah.
However, it's more of like, there's no statistical reason why I believe that Arkansas can and will win this game. It is more of, this is true SEC football when you have to go and play a game like this late in the season when you're the top dog. in the SEC, top 1 to 2 teams. Texas has probably secured their spot, like one of the few teams that is fairly safe in the college football playoff right now as it stands, who has once again shown that like they can get shaken, rattled way easier than we thought they could. Like listen, we're probably not that good this year as it's come to be shown, but we showed up and we whooped their ass.
Yep.
We did. And I think that Arkansas has like people really, I don't think are giving Taylor Green enough credit for playing and doing for himself well on this team he has around him this year. I think just Texas, it's a very, very sneaky spot. This game is either going to be 42-7 Texas,
right,
or
23-21
Arkansas.
It's going to be a rock fight in the trenches,
right?
And so to the point of the trenches, just to like, I'm not making this stuff up. Like, I have been watching LSU play Arkansas every year, year in, year out, for a couple of decades now. 3 decades probably, ever since Arkansas and South Carolina joined the SEC back in the 90s. Okay. Arkansas has these big corn-fed Arkansas boys playing O-line and D-line. They're the hogs. They're like the old Washington Redskins in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
So listen to these weights. This is O-line, all right? I'm going to read you like 15 numbers. Here's their weights. 346, 334, 325, 323, 321, 319, 313, 312, 311, 310, 309, 306, 300, 347, 318, 313. That's like 15 people all over 300 pounds. Okay? D-line, 391, 321, 317, 312, 281, 280, 273, 272, 269. So I mean, so you're getting to the edges there.
For sure.
Elijah Brown is 380.
Over the top though, like over the nose.
Some big dudes. Some big dudes. And I'm just saying, like, you're not gonna be able to just get after the quarterback. You're gonna have to like hold your spots, and it's not easy. It takes speed. You're not going to be able to bull rush these dudes around. If Taylor Green has some time to throw downfield, he can throw the ball. He can hit dudes when they get open. They've got some dudes who can get open, and then there's always that threat of him and Jaquindon Jackson running the ball. So I'm
and that Russell
I still think the most likely scenario is that Texas beats the brakes off of them.
For sure.
But it is definitely a spot where you got to check this game out, and if it's close at halftime, watch the second half.
Right, that's what I'm saying. All the people, all the folks in the comments, like I'm not crazy. Like, I do understand the most likely outcome is Texas.
You're only crazy until we wake up Sunday morning and Arkansas beat Texas 23-21.
I feel it as a very legitimate possibility that Arkansas beats Texas in Fayetteville this weekend.
Kentucky beat Ole Miss in Oxford. That's all I got to say, people. And I would say, like, I think if you look at top to bottom, overall talent level, at skilled position, and up front in the trenches, I think Ole Miss is arguably a more talented team than Texas is.
Well,
from top to bottom. So
they showed us why.
And Kentucky is, I mean, they gave you guys a run for your money. So but hey, you beat Texas. Bad. Another one that's going to be interesting, and it has some SEC implications, especially for LSU, because LSU did not play Missouri, but they did play South Carolina. South Carolina welcomes the other Tigers, Missouri, into Williams-Brice Stadium. It's weird how it seems like South Carolina has played a lot of these games at home this year. They played A&M at home. They played us at home. They had to travel to Tuscaloosa, but then they get Missouri and this one at home. Missouri was one of those teams that we were talking about before the season started, just because of that, Brady Cook, Luther Burden, and then what's the other kid? The other receiver. Yeah. That you actually had, is it Theo Weiss? Is that his name?
Theo Weiss.
Yeah. They had some dudes, and you looked at what they did last year, and you just kind of projected forward. But apparently, like, what the losses that they had, and maybe they played a little over their heads last year, whatever. They almost lost to Vanderbilt, and then they looked really ugly against A&M and Alabama. So they've done fine against lesser teams, but this is not a lesser team. South Carolina is for real, and I think South Carolina is probably really looking at this. Shane Beamer's probably very disappointed and lamenting like a very close loss at home against us, where they missed a field goal at the Horn. They had us beat, and we kind of pulled it out. You know, you can say we got lucky, we got bailed out by the refs. Hard to argue, but it is what it is. This kind of stuff happens, and it's still a loss on their record. Then Alabama, kind of the same thing. You could say that maybe there were some things that could have been called differently. They had a chance on a 2-point conversion where if he just hits the wide open receiver and doesn't throw it out of the back of the end zone, it's a tie game. And then they get the onside kick, they almost score again. So like it's and then if they had gotten 2-point conversion and gotten that onside kick, they're getting in field goal range, not trying to score a touchdown, and then they're kicking a field goal to beat you at the buzzer. So this South Carolina team is like this close.
They're better than the schedule than the record shows. Like they are 3-loss.
Their only bad loss was that one to Ole Miss. They lost 27-3. Everything else has been like they've been right there.
They had LSU dead to rights, and they had Alabama.
They had Alabama. They were up on Alabama too.
Yeah, they were up on Alabama too. Like they had Alabama as close to the brink of death as you could possibly have without winning the game.
No, and Alabama loses that game. Alabama's done.
Dude, South Carolina's D line is something. They get busy.
Yeah, Kennard and Stewart are Stewart too. Those are two monsters getting after the quarterback. So yeah, I think I see South Carolina kind of winning this one going away. I think this spread is in the right spot, 14 points. And you know, we'll get into the playoff scenarios right now because this one actually does play a role. South Carolina winning that game really helps LSU. And look, it's an SEC show. I'm a big LSU fan, so I'm going to lean towards paying attention to the stuff that benefits LSU, because what's crazy is it still sets up pretty well as we look at this little scenario. Shout out to whoever these people are. That it's bball.nothing.net. No idea why that's the name of the site, but it is what it is. They do men's and women's basketball and football. They basically do this whole tiebreaker scenario thing. You can go through, pick which conference you're looking at, but this is they've taken all of the tiebreakers for the conference, for each conference, and made this like filtering mechanism where you can go through and you can choose the games, the outcomes of each game, and we'll go through these to just kind of show like what happens and what it takes for different scenarios to happen. And what I'm here to tell you is it doesn't take much for LSU to end up in the SEC title game. What we're talking about is Texas beats Arkansas, LSU beats Florida, Georgia beats Tennessee, South Carolina beats Missouri, A&M beats Auburn, Ole Miss beats Florida, LSU beats Vandy, Missouri beats Mississippi State, Alabama beats Oklahoma, Texas beats Kentucky. None of these are like we have so far. This is all favorites winning.
Have to win essentially right now.
Favorites winning every one of these games. So none of this stuff is crazy. Ole Miss beats Mississippi State. Alabama beats Auburn. So the home team is on the left for all these games. Just FYI. LSU beats Oklahoma. Arkansas beating Missouri is the one where it starts to get a little bit interesting because that's Arkansas playing at Missouri. Texas A&M, this one doesn't matter. I just chose Texas for this particular scenario. And then Tennessee Vandy. So if I do that and I calculate the standings, it's Texas LSU. Now let's go back. And this is all because of the opponent's winning percentage within the SEC. So let's say that Tyler's scenario is right and Arkansas beats Texas. Okay, we recalculate. It's LSU Alabama. And for some reason, LSU is number one. The number one seed in the SEC championship. I don't like having to play Alabama again. I don't think we match up well with. I'm still having like PTSD from Jalen Milroe. I'm just gonna assume whatever. If I can find a way to do, we can't do player props in Louisiana, but if I could, I would bet the over on 3.5 touchdowns for Jalen Milroe, because so far, past results do not guarantee future success. However, 4 touchdowns. I'm assuming it's going to be another 4 touchdowns, and I don't think we have enough to overcome that. So, props to you, Alabama fans. I could say a bunch of other things about I don't know, familial relations and whatnot, but I will avoid those easy tropes and just say congratulations. Y'all are still good, not as good as you used to be, and it's going to get worse. But for now, we would have our work cut out for us if we had to play in that one. So Arkansas beats Texas there, that happens. But then if Texas A&M also beats Texas, okay, so let's say they send Texas reeling. Now it's Texas A&M LSU. I like this. I like getting a crack at Texas A&M again. So that's how those kind of scenarios work out. But what I'm really expecting is for this game to go chalk, and then if I look, there's maybe this Arkansas Missouri game. So that's the one where if that goes differently, this is where if Missouri beats Arkansas, that's where it knocks LSU out, and you end up with a Texas A&M Alabama or Texas Alabama, depending on the winner of this game here. So Tyler, I don't remember what it was, but it takes a lot for you guys.
It takes so much for Georgia to get it. I think. Let me think about it. I think Arkansas has to beat Texas. You got to win out. We obviously have to win our last game.
Vandy has to beat Tennessee.
Vandy has to beat Tennessee. I think Texas has to lose to Kentucky again. No, Texas has to lose again. I think, and then Alabama has to lose to Auburn, and Auburn has to beat Texas A&M. I know that for Auburn has to win.
Are you serious?
Yes, Auburn has to. Hold on,
we're still not there yet. So Texas beats Texas A&M, maybe. Yes, there it is.
Oklahoma has to beat Alabama. Yeah.
So it's Texas. Yeah. So here's what it takes for Georgia to get there. I think. Well, this is for us to play y'all, though, right? Yeah. This is for LSU Georgia. This is for me and Tyler to actually fulfill our plans of going to the SEC title game in Atlanta together. Arkansas would have to beat Texas this weekend. The rest of the weekend can be chalk. Then Auburn has to beat Texas A&M. Now it's in Auburn, so it's not outlandish. Then the rest of it can be chalk that weekend. Then Ole Miss chalk. Auburn has to beat Alabama in the Iron Bowl in Tuscaloosa for the first time since the Cam Newton game.
Yep.
Okay. And then the rest of it, so Arkansas still has to beat Missouri. Texas has to beat Texas A&M, and Vandy has to beat Tennessee. Nigh on impossible, but it is possible. So that's why we're saying it's chaos central, people. Like, this shit could happen, okay? So
not likely.
Let's go back. Okay. So if we go back and fix all this stuff,
at this
just
point,
make it chalk.
Yeah, at this point,
Alabama wins this one. So if we go Tennessee beats Vandy, and then let's say Missouri wins against Arkansas at home. This is everything is chalk all the way through, right? Then we have a Texas Alabama SEC championship, and that's really depressing. But it is what it is. That's what happens, and that's what happens when you don't take care of business in certain scenarios where you put yourself in a position to be waiting and relying on other teams' results to help you out and bail you out.
We like Georgia could have, like, if we went out, we are most likely in the SEC championship, at least in a three-way conversation. Well, no, because Texas A&M would decide it, right? So it'd be us and the winner of that game, right? So that's on us for not delivering. So we now at this point, screw the SEC championship game. I don't want to play in it. Let's just get to the playoffs.
For real.
Like, we might be limping, and I don't mind. We might have to play a playoff road game at this point, but it is what it is. Like, I'm going to be so sad if we're not a part of the first ever 12-team playoff. After having to go whoop Florida State JV team, like.
Well, so here's a thing to consider. Like, this is just wild if you really think about it. There's a scenario where it could be Ole Miss Texas A&M, and then who would be the other? Oh, and Tennessee. Just follow me here. You could have Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Tennessee all in the playoff, the first ever 12-team playoff. No LSU, no Georgia, no Alabama.
Oh, 1,000%. That could absolutely happen. And I feel like, and I hate to say that, like, Ole Miss is actually living up to the hype that they, for the first time ever.
Yeah,
like, we thought they weren't. Like,
I thought they were done.
We had them on Fraud Watch. We had them. We had them on Fraud Watch too, and they said, "Nah, fuck y'all."
When we beat them. I looked at their schedule and I was like, "Yeah, they're not beating Georgia." And yeah. You know how that works.
They did. They beat the
Listen, so don't should all over yourself. You should do this. You should do that. You just shouldn't on yourself. So don't do that. That's what Texas might do this weekend against Arkansas. So we're going to be watching on that one. It is Chaos Corner. We are ready to go. Colorado, Utah. Colorado should take care of business here and keep their Big 12 championship hopes alive as we move outside the SEC. 11.5-point favorites at home. Deion Sanders is, he's putting it together after they fell apart at the end of last year.
Yeah.
Amidst all that hype. I think it went kind of the opposite way this year, where early on it was just
people were on them. They're done. Hand up. Hand up.
I was too.
After Nebraska, I said,
28-10. I said earlier in an earlier episode they lost 28-0. They actually lost 28-10.
Yeah.
But it was still disgusting. It was very ugly, and you've seen how good that Nebraska team is. They're not that good.
No,
but Colorado has.
We thought they were.
Yeah, Colorado has performed really well. That Baylor Hail Mary at the end of the game where they should have lost, I think is like this weird light switch that came on for that team.
Yeah, I think they almost had Kansas State, right? Who did they barely lose to that they like had on the ropes the whole way before they? It was an undefeated Big 12 team. Was it K-State?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that was it. They had an undefeated Big 12 team like on the ropes the whole time.
Yeah,
I think I forget who it was. Either way, I think going like for me personally, I think that the playoff is going to be magnified and made even better if Colorado wins the Big 12 championship and gets a spot. I think that makes the playoff that much better. Like even if they lose, like I think that's going to be sick. I think that's at this point in time, Colorado is who I want to represent the Big 12 in the playoff.
But yeah, it was Kansas State. They beat them 31-28.
Right, they had them
a month ago.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's when K-State was still undefeated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that Colorado takes care of business because Utah, once again, Cam Rising being, I think, my age at this point, so playing college football. Like,
he's not playing now.
No, not well. He's sitting at the bench.
He will be playing next year.
He graduated high school a year behind me, I believe, and is still playing college football. Like, listen,
I want to see if maybe I can play.
Listen, the only person who gets a pass is Stetson Bennett. Keep it moving.
Hey, look, wouldn't it be crazy? I could go to Texas A&M, and they could pay me to not coach, and also let me play.
Listen, I told my younger brother, like, listen, man, you have like all of your college eligibility left because he played some JUCO ball. So you have all of your college eligibility. Let's go, man. Listen, we both could go together. Like, we can both go walk on somewhere. But yeah, I think Colorado takes care. Like the theme of this weekend is massive spreads, and like most people's last second or last conference game for the year.
Right. Except for LSU, we have three. Three conference games.
It might just be us because we finish our conference schedule early all the time because we played Tech last week. But I think that Colorado takes care of this. I would like them to. I mean, who knows? It's at Colorado. I feel pretty good about Deion and the boys. I think Shadur, when all is said and done, is going to be one of the first quarterbacks taken in the draft because he's really turned into that dude. And this is still the continuation of the Travis Hunter Heisman campaign.
Yeah.
Speaking of Heisman, I still get worried that they might just say screw it and give it to Dylan Gabriel. That's like a real possibility. But we'll keep it moving for now.
Well, he broke the all-time combined touchdowns record. There's all these little things where it starts to add up where they can make the story now.
For sure. Absolutely.
So, for sure. So yeah, let's keep it moving. Clemson to the ACC. Clemson 11.5-point road favorites at Pitt. Pitt has really just kind of fallen apart. Pitt was undefeated a couple weeks ago, and now what the hell happened? And we were talking about like the kid that transferred from Alabama, or
he's
he
good.
Committed. He's good, but he's not good enough because he hasn't been getting it done. And I think Clemson continues to kind of like make their way into sneaking into the ACC championship game and possibly sneaking their way into the college football playoff, which is wild. Like to think like Clemson. You look back 10 years ago and you'd have been like, well, yeah, Clemson's going to be in the first ever college football playoff.
Right.
But the last couple of years, you'd be like, I don't know. So if they do find a way to sneak in, and then Alabama, LSU, and Georgia are all left out, that would be just wild.
It's the sad part is it's very like we're the first team out right now. Like if we lose, we're done. So like it's not off the table that
we're not even in the conversation.
It's not off the table that you and I are sitting here talking about our bowl matchups while half our teams are sitting out. Like, I'm gonna cry,
bro.
Like real
so depressing. And then we're gonna catch all this hate and trash talk from all these.
It is. Listen,
that keep commenting on our videos, but
we
love the hate.
We love the hate. We love the love, man. We just love to talk college football. That's all what we do.
That's right.
And this show predates Snaps by at least half a year, just so everybody knows. Just so everybody's aware. Like
we're not copying Snaps; they copied us.
They just also happen to play and be good at the schools that they represent.
Right.
So
we are just asking to be paid to not coach our schools.
Yep.
Or to get paid to not coach someone else's school. We don't care. Tulane Navy. I told y'all that I didn't like Navy when they were undefeated. No offense to Navy. Love the service academies. Nothing about the troops or anything like that.
Every time.
I'm just talking about football here. I don't think they're that good. And Tulane, I think Tulane is really good. And Tulane is a 7-point favorite on the road. If I'm doing anything, I'm giving the points. I think Tulane beats them by a couple, 3 touchdowns. Easy. Going away, and maybe Tulane has LSU's next head coach. Who knows? Boise State, 14-point road favorites at San Jose State. We're getting to the point now where like Boise State's going to have to really shoot themselves in the foot to not make it into the playoff. But what I'm watching for now is, are there going to be some opportunities in some of these games for Ashton Janty to hang 300 yards on somebody and start putting together the types of numbers that challenge the Barry Sanders record and really give him a chance at winning the Heisman? Because I don't expect them to lose.
Yeah, he's got to rush like 1,000 more yards, I think, to get there. Right? It's a good.
It's a lot.
He's going to break 2K, which is still pretty impressive. Like for college running backs stance, I think it's like in the numbers of 20 to 30 college running backs that have rushed for over 2,000 yards. I think in a season. I think so. Like it's you're still like rushing for 2K is not easy. Like, come on now, especially like with the way like modern offenses.
I was gonna say this current era, it's next to impossible because they just don't feed running backs like that anymore.
No, hell no.
So where's the? I'm trying to find 26, 28. Let's see where
he's at 17. He's at 17:34.
Okay. Well, what I'm trying to do though is find out see what the upcoming schedule is.
Okay.
For Boise State. So they've got San Jose State this weekend, then they've got Wyoming next weekend, and then Oregon State at home the following weekend.
Will they most likely, if they went out, will play in the Mountain West Championship? Will they count those yards?
I wouldn't see why they wouldn't.
Right. I don't know when it comes to these kind of records, like what counts and what doesn't.
The only thing that didn't count back in the day was bowl games.
Okay, so
if he gets 4 games, and he averages like 250 a game, he's got it.
He does, yeah.
But I want people to realize how ridiculous what I just said is. Averaging 250 rushing yards a game when they know you're going to get the ball all the time.
Yeah, they're putting everybody in the box.
It's so much hard. Like it's easier. I would feel more comfortable saying I expect Shedeur Sanders to throw for 400 a game.
For sure.
The last 4 games of the season, because it's like you can even be getting your ass kicked and you'll still just throw the ball, and they'll be playing soft coverage and letting you throw the ball underneath. So like, if you played fantasy football, you know how this is. You know that it's so much easier for a quarterback to put up insane numbers in a game than it is for a running back to do it. Especially if they know you're going to do it, they load the box. We see Derrick Henry do this all the time. All you got to do is be like, oh yeah, I think Derrick Henry's going to have a good game. And then next thing you know, they gave him 11 carries that game because they were loading up the box, and they were just like, no, we're just going to let Lamar Jackson run the ball himself or throw the ball to Mark Andrews or whatever, So anyway, shout out to Ashton Janty. Shout out to the Boise State Broncos. Let's go Broncos. Let's get it done. Get to the playoff. Get yourself some love and get that Heisman Trophy. I got money on it. Arizona State, Kansas State. Manhattan, Kansas is still alive for a Big 12 championship. It's going to take a lot of work, but they are still there. 7-2, 17th in the country. They still have a chance to slide their way into the playoff. 7.5-point favorites. I just don't know what to expect right now with this team. I think maybe with their backs against the wall, they could play a little bit better. That bump in the road at Houston a couple of weeks ago, I think probably was the last time they are going to play around with a game like that. But it may be just too much to overcome because you've got Colorado ahead of them in the standings, and then you also have BYU who's undefeated. So it's going to take a lot. We're going to get to BYU in just a second because there's some funny business going on with that matchup. Oregon at Wisconsin. This is not a guarantee. 13.5-point favorites on the road, and we've talked about it, Tyler. Like this is not.
This is the exact same scenario as Texas at Arkansas in the sense of like it most likely is going to be Oregon by 50.
Yep.
However, this is at night in Wisconsin. I'm just like, it is. You never know when a team's going to decide to get up. You never know when Purdue's going to beat Ohio State. You never know when Wisconsin might just sneak up and beat Oregon. I know that Wisconsin has had a lot of issues, and this is a pro Luke Fickell show, by the way. Shout out Jeremiah, but it's not a foregone conclusion. Like I said, there's we like to sometimes hang, if it's a 90% chance Oregon's win the game, sometimes we like to hang on the 10. You know what I mean? Just for that's the vibe of this weekend. Most likely Oregon by 40-50. However, if things bounce the right way, if Dylan Gabriel can't do what we think he's going to do in that nighttime environment and a Big Ten matchup at home in the cold, anything can happen. That's all we're saying.
Camp Randall's a wild place. Jump around. Everybody. It's gonna be great. And so the other thing I like to point out, whether it's that Texas Arkansas game or this game, or even as we get into you've got Ohio State Northwestern, Penn State Purdue, Virginia Notre Dame. It's those games that everyone dismisses, like Oregon at Wisconsin. That's the ones that you have to watch out for. That's the ones where everybody's gonna be like, yo, what the hell happened? Alabama going to Vanderbilt.
Yeah. It's the spoilers.
It's the spoil. It wouldn't be a spoiler if it's like Oregon, Penn State.
Right.
That's not what we're talking. We're talking about and we see it every year where it's a team that has no business losing that game. That's when they lose that game. And we're not even talking about something like A&M going to Williams-Brice and losing to South Carolina. That was one where we were like, I kind of expect South Carolina to win that game.
Right.
Not just like I think they have a chance. Like I actually was thinking Texas A&M better be ready or they're going to lose.
Right.
And they got their ass kicked.
Absolutely.
Right. They got their ass kicked from the jump. Like I know they came back and took the lead, I think late in the first half, and then South Carolina tied it with a field goal at halftime. But like, it was this close to South Carolina running away with that thing in the first half, and then they pulled away in the second half. I'm not saying that's what happens with Wisconsin, Oregon. What I'm saying is that we saw it last week with Michigan and Indiana, where you don't know how big of a deal it is for those fans and for that team to rise to the occasion for this game. And if you're looking ahead and you're just kind of thinking you're going to walk over them, they still have people with energy and muscles, and like they will come hit you in the mouth.
Right. These teams, these Wisconsins, these Arkansas, what's another great example?
Big corn-fed.
Yeah, the Wisconsin, the Arkansas, the
Iowa,
the Purdue's, things like that. Is like those teams don't have fair weather fans because they're not fair weather schools. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It does not matter if Arkansas has not won a game yet this season.
Mm-hmm.
It does not matter if Wisconsin has not seen success in the Big Ten in over 10 years.
Right.
They will show up and they will eat your lunch if you're not ready.
Yeah, it's only supposed to be 48 degrees, so it's not going to be super cold.
Right, but still, it's the environment regardless.
But it's still the temperature is going to be dropping as the game goes on, and I don't know, maybe it's going to rain a little bit. You never know what. And again, it's the vibes, man.
It's the vibes. It's like there's no statistical reason why we're saying any of these things.
If there would be, we wouldn't be saying it. Like it's not. Like we're talking about something that shouldn't happen, that might happen. So anyway, another thing that shouldn't happen is Washington State should not lose to New Mexico. Their only loss this year is to Boise State. They are otherwise undefeated, and I expect them to continue that trend. 10.5-point favorites on the road, but you know how this goes. It's chaos. It's a watch out weekend, whatever you want to call it. This one. Speaking of crazy things, what in the hell? An undefeated BYU team at home is a 2.5-point favorite against a 3-6 Kansas team.
The books have been disrespecting BYU like majority of the season, and I've yet to see why.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were at one point, because I hammered it. They were, I think as a 10th or 11th ranked, still undefeated team.
Mm-hmm.
Were I think either home dogs, I think they were road dogs against UCF or something like that. But you're undefeated. You're top of your conference and you're still getting. I don't know where the disrespect from the books is coming against BYU. Like I have yet to figure that out, but it's been happening like majority of the season.
Right.
Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Maybe BYU is telling Vegas to like go screw themselves. I have no idea. But like, I have no. Mormons don't believe in gambling. I have no idea. It's just.
I sure as hell don't.
Yeah. Right.
So we talked briefly on this one. Another one that's just kind of goofy. Ohio State 28.5-point favorites on the road at Northwestern. Penn State 28.5-point favorites on the road at Purdue. I'm not saying I expect these teams to lose these games. I'm just saying they're playing on the road. It's November, and you're supposed to win the game running away. And Ohio State has a big game with Indiana coming up. Penn State still has some work to do to stay alive in the Big Ten championship race and in their playoff hopes as well. So, although I think their best case scenario is stay away from the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, right. No, that is their best case scenario.
Get to the playoffs by avoiding it. But a team that can't afford to lose again is Notre Dame. They are still kind of that Northern Illinois loss is going to haunt them because if they lose another game, I think they're out.
Yeah.
But this game against Virginia, I'm not saying it's the one, but they're playing that one in South Bend. It's a 23.5 point. I'm only bringing these up because we are in chaos territory.
Yeah.
So there's some other matchups that are actually like better matchups that I'm not even mentioning because they're inconsequential to the playoff picture.
Right.
What I'm pointing out is like, if any of these games goes the way of the underdog,
yeah,
it wrecks what everyone's projecting right now. So just remember,
UVA
Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois.
Right. UVA has played spoiler. Notre Dame is like a pseudo ACC team, obviously, because the rest of the sports are there. UVA has played spoiler in the ACC football picture in the past. Like, I'm pretty sure they've spoiled. Maybe it was Clemson. I don't know. But I think UVA has played spoiler in the past in terms of the ACC. Now, this is not a good UVA team. They're not by any means special. However, once again, Notre Dame we're saying it again, Notre Dame lost NIU at home.
Correct.
That's all
and
we're saying.
I will say this too. So like, this isn't a great UVA team by any stretch. They played a really close game against a Louisville team that took Miami to the wire. They beat Boston College by 10. They beat Pitt last weekend by 5.
See?
They lost. Now, granted, they lost by like 3 scores to Clemson.
Oh yeah, Clemson beat the brakes off of them, but they're very middle of the they're middle of the pack for sure.
But they're a 5-4 team. They've got Notre Dame this weekend. They've got SMU. They are probably at this point fully embracing the spoiler role, and I'm here for it. Like, this is the reason we're bringing up all these games is because, like I said, if one of these games is an upset, it's a big deal.
The whole college football playoff change.
I would not be surprised at all if one of these games ends in the favorite losing.
Right.
It's more likely one of those ones where they're traveling to the underdog, but Notre Dame playing at home against a team like Virginia, not a foregone conclusion. We talked about Boston College being one of Virginia's wins. Boston College travels to SMU to take on the Pony Express. They're 19.5-point favorites are SMU. This is just SMU continuing to line things up for them to make it to the ACC championship game and then make it to the college football playoff, which I'm not saying I expect it, but I'm not going to be surprised if SMU ends up winning the ACC and clinching one of those top spots in the playoff standings. What do you think about this one? His name Castellanos or whatever, the quarterback for Boston College, is kind of the straw that stirs their drink.
Right.
But SMU's only loss this year is a 3-point loss at home, but still a 3-point loss to undefeated BYU.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, I think that like this. It's just like we keep calling speaking different things. Is it trap game weekend? Is it whatever you want to call it? Like, I think that SMU takes care of business. But yeah, this Boston College team was undoubtedly like start of the season. We're like, oh, well, are they going to contend for the ACC? Like, it's Castellanos, by the way, Castellanos, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were like, oh, is he a guy? Like, who knows? And then Boston College kind of tailed off. You know what I mean? They they had to go down and play Mizzou and Columbia and things like that. I think, this is not one of the ones. It is one of the in line with one of the games that we're talking about. I think SMU absolutely takes care of business here. But yeah, it's one of those games where who knows? Who knows? Maybe BC wants to mess up SMU's season because at this point, why not? And these are a lot of these. Not a lot. Some of these spoiler teams are also fighting for their own bowl eligibility. So there's still stuff on the table for some of these people to win these games. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. So it's not just a mere spoiler role. They're actually playing for themselves too, for their own season's survival. Yep. So getting into some of these playoff scenarios as we get close to wrapping up here, because we're going to get into this a little bit more. It's as things start to come more and more into focus. And I have to say, like, we talked about this the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season, Tyler, that like we have no idea what the hell's going on. This college football season has been insanely unpredictable. It continues to be unpredictable. That's why I'm pointing out some of this stuff that looks like it's a no-brainer, is because all of the stuff that we have thought we have known up to this point this season has been flipped on its head multiple times. Raise your hand, everybody, if you felt like Georgia was going to lose by 3 scores to Ole Miss this past weekend. Raise your hand if you also thought Alabama was going to lose to Vanderbilt. Raise your hand if you also thought Notre Dame was going to lose to Northern Illinois after they beat Texas A&M in College Station. Raise your hand if you thought after watching Texas A&M lose to Notre Dame in College Station opening weekend, then that same Notre Dame team a couple weeks later lose to Northern Illinois, if you thought Texas A&M was going to be in line for an SEC championship if they can just take care of business the rest of the way. Like this is what I'm saying is like the churn of this season has been insane. And so we get into the All-State playoff predictor, and since things are kind of ugly for one of the hosts of this show because our team does not appear on the college football playoff predictor anymore, we have disappeared. We have disappeared multiple times this year, but this time I think it's for good, unless somehow a miracle occurs. Although we talked about it earlier, it's not that big of a miracle, not that far of a stretch, but we don't appear on this thing anymore. So let's just look at it, Tyler.
Yep.
You beat Tennessee. You beat UMass. You beat Georgia Tech. And then
we're not playing the game.
I think doesn't make the game is the most likely scenario, right? Which I think you're greater than 99%, right? Yes. Greater than 99% and 77% to play a home game in Athens, which I'm here for it. Of course, you're playing Tennessee and they have you losing. They hate y'all, man.
They do. I swear, in all of these, like whenever we've done this, it's always we play somebody and we lose immediately. It has always been like the I don't know if it's like FPI or whatever, but if we lose any of these games, you can do it again. I guarantee it's gonna have us out.
Oh, I don't think so, actually. So let's say you lose this weekend, but then you win out, right? So it's the SEC championship thing's not even going to come up. You're still 50-50 coin flip. You're a coin flip, and then I'm sure it has you in there. And look, it has you beating Indiana on the road, and then beating Miami, and getting to losing to Miami. Losing to Miami. Okay, and then it's Miami, Texas. So they just have chalk for the
Boise State in the Final Four, though. Peep that.
Yeah, I know, right? I like that. So, all right. So that I was actually going to go there next, but we wanted to rerun the Georgia scenario. I want to check out the Boise State path. So I don't see them losing. Okay, so here we go. Oops. Where does win that conference championship game? Yes. Okay, so now they're 99%.
For sure.
First round bye 78%.
Wow. Wait, what? Oh, they can.
What's crazy is there's a 78% chance they're a first round bye. Only 4% chance that they host the first round. So if they don't get a bye, they're saying that there's a greater chance, 4.5 times more likely that they will be on the road round one.
That's so weird.
Which is stupid. I like this is just me. Like I don't know how everybody else feels about this, but if Boise State makes the college football playoff, to me, the only way you let them debut on that stage is on that blue field.
Oh, 1,000%.
Like, if you care at all about the TV show that Jeremiah talks about,
yes,
the TV show has to include a blue field.
Right. Hurting your eyes trying to watch, the Boise State uniforms blending in with the
TV.
But it's the thing though. It's like Boise State in the playoff will be a conference champion, a one-loss conference champion against some other 2-loss teams, most likely. And so is it by the rules possible for Boise State to have a first round bye?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, it's the way that it works is it's the top 4 conference champions.
Okay.
And then so like the top 4 conference champions are in.
Yeah.
And it's like so the way that it works is you have the Power 4 conference champions are automatically in.
Yeah.
the highest ranked conference champion from the group of 5 is also in.
Yeah.
How they determine the top 4 seeds is it's the top 4 conference champions. So you could have the SEC champion not even be a first round bye.
Okay, I didn't catch that
If
part.
they don't make, if they're not in the top 4 conference champions.
Gotcha.
Or the ACC champ. You know, like if SMU wins the ACC, SMU is probably hosting a game instead of play, or maybe even like traveling around.
Yeah. Okay.
And so you could have that where Boise State could make it in as. So what I would like to see though, I hate where they have them ranked because I think they're like still.
They're still last. They're still
no. I'm saying like in terms of their rankings, they are
13?
Number 14, 13.
13.
Okay, 13. So as of right now, if they win out, the chances of them getting into the top 4 is pretty grim, you know.
Yeah.
And then you have, so then you're looking at, all right, well, the Big Ten, because none of those teams play each other hardly. You end up having this thing where Indiana and Penn State, theoretically, you have Boise State looking at this Indiana Penn State conglomerate not making it to the Big Ten championship game, and it's an Ohio State Oregon rematch. And then you have like those 2 1-loss teams, because I'm assuming Indiana loses to Ohio State, right? So then you have like Penn State and Indiana, both with 1 loss, not making the Big Ten championship game. There's a very high likelihood that Boise State is not ranked ahead of them.
Do you think this might
so
sound
then you
weird.
Have like Oregon or Ohio State number 1, and then you have your your SEC champ number 2 or somewhere in that top 4 or 5. Then you keep going and it's you end up with like a Boise State or something to that effect. So
do you think that I kind of see why the likelihood is, because I just thought about it because I just looked it up. So Boise State would either be on the road or a home or a first round bye. I think I don't know how it works, but Boise State Stadium always seats 36,000. So do you think that maybe like college football playoff is thinking, oh well, we want to sell. I don't know what I'm thinking in the background. Like
right now, I think there's some posturing on like what any of this even means.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I think because we've seen it before, right? Where from the last week, or from the second to last week to the last week when the final standings are posted, like last year, where it's just like Florida State, psych. Then they just pull the rug out from under Florida State. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if after the conference championships and all that stuff and all the dust settles and you really get to see where everything is and people's eyes get to see some of the things that they've been like lying their way through their voting. Now they actually see this stuff with their eyes and stuff gets proven to them. Then I think you probably have a scenario where something that you didn't, that they're not going to telegraph, I guess, where they're going with it.
For sure.
They're going to give you some indications with some teams, but then there's going to be other stuff where it's just going to be like, oh yeah, and we just decided that now Boise State's number 3.
Yeah.
And it'll just be like pull it out of their ass completely. So or the opposite. We decided that Boise State's number 11.
Yeah.
It's very bizarre. Some of the things that they've already done with their logic has been mind-boggling to me. So I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be fun. There's a lot of chaos still left to come. It is No Fraud November, and we are here for it. We are here to watch the frauds get exposed. So you better not be a fraud, because No Fraud November takes no prisoners. LSU can attest to that. But and so can Miami. Y'all are still frauds. But don't forget, Alabama, in case you think you're not a fraud, you lost to Vanderbilt. I just hope we don't lose to Vanderbilt in a couple of weeks, because then that'll be really embarrassing after all the trash I've been talking this whole time. But we will stop talking trash for now. We hope you keep coming to like, to share, to subscribe. Also, we love the comments. Even though y'all hate us, we love the hate. We welcome it, and we like to just give it back to you We're having fun here. I hope y'all are having fun. And anyway, go Tigers, go Dogs. Let's finish out this season as best as we can, and maybe we will both make it to the playoff, Tyler. And then we'll get to have that meetup in a playoff matchup instead of in the SEC title game, since that's almost impossible. But for now, the South End Zone is going to jet out of here. I am Chad. He is Tyler. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.